Hello and welcome to this lecture in marketing management. In this lecture, we are going to talk about channel design and channel management decisions, and we are also going to discuss about channel conflict. So, let me take you through this lecture by changing the slides and explaining each with suitable examples. So, here we are going to take our first slide of this lecture. Now, the first slide of the lecture talks about the meaning of channel design. So, we have till now discussed about the distribution channel. Now, a distribution channel is a series of organizations and individuals that help in the movement of a product from the manufacturer to the consumer. So, a distribution channel is set up by the manufacturer, followed by the distributor, followed by the wholesaler, followed by the retailer, followed by the consumer. So, in a typical distribution channel, there are certain entities, there are certain independent organizations as well as individuals. Some of the organizations are very prominent, like we have the distributor, the wholesaler as well as the retailer, while certain organizations are not so prominent, which are in a way hidden, like the transporters, the warehouse owners, the inventory keepers, etc. So, they together make a distribution channel. So, channel design basically refers to the decisions involving in the development of the new marketing channel. So, whatever decisions which are involved in the development of a new marketing channel are basically referred to the decisions of the channel design. Channel design is basically the design of the channel. Now, how to make the channel, how to construct the channel for a particular product or a particular product category. So, this refers to the creation of new channels where none existed before, and it also refers to the modification of existing channel. So, channel design also refers to the creation of new channels as well as the modification of the existing ones. Channel design are critical because they impact the market presence of a product. Now, as we know that in order to achieve successful sales, a product has to be available in the market at the right place, at the right time, in the right quantity and at the right price. So, the channel design is largely responsible for this. With a proper channel design, the product can be made available in the market at the right place, at the right time, in the right quantity and at the right price, while with an improper strategy, there would be problems and the product would not be available to the consumers at the right place, quantity, time and price, and this would give rise to many problems for the manufacturer. So, it is easier to change, and this one last point is extremely important with respect to channel design. Now, it is not very easy to change the channel structure. So, while it is easy to change the price and it is easy to change the promotion, the channel structure cannot be very easily changed, and because it cannot be very easily changed, therefore, the organizations must pay a lot of attention and the organizations must be very careful while designing their distribution channel. So, while taking the decisions related to distribution channel, the organizations must take into account a number of factors, and they must do so very diligently, because it is easier to change the price and it is easier to change the promotions, etc., but not the channel, which is relatively rigid in all the marketing mix elements. Now, we talk about certain dimensions of the channel design. So, as I said that the channel design is basically related to all the decisions which are taken in order to construct either a new marketing channel or to modify an existing marketing channel. So, in this perspective, there are certain dimensions of a channel design. Let me read out these dimensions first. It includes the market dimensions, then there are certain product dimensions, and there are certain company dimensions, then there are certain intermediary dimensions as well as the environment dimensions. So, market dimensions are all those decisions which are taken in respect to the market. So, decisions taken with respect to the type of market or the nature of market are the market dimensions. So, if suppose the market is full of competitors, if it is a highly competitive market, then the company can adopt a different type of channel strategy and the decisions would be then covered under this dimension. So, market dimension covers all the decisions which are taken after looking at the nature of the market. Then there are some product dimensions. Product dimensions are related to the product or the offering of the company, which the company is taking towards the consumer. So, this includes the nature of the product, whether the product is a durable product or whether it is a perishable product, whether it is FMCG, whether it is consumer durable, electronic gadget, or it is an eatable, or what exactly the product is. So, this covers all the aspects of the offering which is being taken to the market, and these are the product dimensions. Then there are the certain company dimensions. Company dimensions are the organizational dimensions. So, while creating a marketing channel from scratch or while modifying an existing marketing channel, there are certain organizational dimensions which are taken care of. This includes the presence of the organization in the market share, what types of consumers the organization is having, etc. So, these are the organizational dimensions. Then there are certain intermediaries are various organizations that facilitate the movement of the product. So, we have defined intermediaries in the last slides also, that intermediaries are the organizations that facilitate the movement of the product from the producer to the consumer. So, intermediary dimension is about the types of intermediaries that the organization is interested to keep while constructing the marketing channel. So, depending on the reach of the market, depending on the nature of the product, depending on the nature of the consumer, depending on the nature of the objectives, the marketing objectives of the organization would be interested in keeping certain intermediaries, while it would not be interested in keeping certain other intermediaries. So, this is the intermediary dimension. While the environment dimension is concerned with marketing environment. So, the type of marketing environment, both internal as well as external, which is prevailing at that given point of time, that is covered in the marketing dimension. So, therefore, the dimensions of channel design consists of the market, product, company, intermediary and environment dimension. Now, next we move to the process of channel design. So, a channel design is a complex process. It is a lengthy and time taking process which involves 5 major steps. Now, these 5 major steps are: number 1, defining the customer's needs. So, everything starts with the customer, and the organization has to first of all understand and define in very clear cut terms as to what their customers actually require. So, defining the need or understanding the need is the first step here. The second step is defining the channel objectives. So, there can be channel objectives, various channel objectives to create awareness, to maximize the profit, to maximize the revenue, to maximize the market share, and such that there can be different types of objectives. So, the company has to define what are the various objectives. So, there can be an objective of maximizing profits, or let us say maximizing market share. So, whatever the company is aiming at, the company or the organization has to define in very clear terms whatever the company or the organization is aiming at. Then there are certain alternatives which are taken into consideration. So, a very simple example can be taken, like there can be an offline channel and there can be an online channel. So, if the company goes for an offline channel, it means that the company will have to set up stores, and if the company is talking about online channel, then the company will have to adopt the model of e-commerce. So, these are the 2 basic decisions that the company has to take. I mean, the company has to either go for an offline channel or an online channel, or a mix of offline and online. So, to sum up, the company has to decide about the channel alternatives. I mean, it has to look at the various alternatives available, and after that the company can decide on to which alternative is most suitable, or which are the alternatives which are most suitable to it, depending upon its financial condition and depending upon the nature of the product and the nature of the market and whatever the consumers are expecting from the company. Then after the consideration of various channel alternatives, what happens is evaluation of the major channel alternatives. In the evaluation, the company looks for the most suitable, the company compares the various alternatives which are available to it, and then the company goes for those alternatives which are most suitable to its own standing. And then finally, the channel structure is set up, and this channel structure is then populated with suitable intermediaries, so that the channel can be finally established. So, these are the various steps which are constituting the process of channel design. Starting with defining the consumer needs, it goes on to the channel objectives, then considering various alternatives which the company can use, and then finally evaluating and deciding on a particular one or two or more than two alternatives which are most suitable for the company, and then finally setting up the suitable channel structure. Channel management decision, and there are certain basic issues which are there with the channel management decision. Now, at every step there are dilemmas, at every step a decision has to be made, at every step there is a choice which is encountered while setting up a marketing channel. So, the company has to consider these choices, and then it has to take a careful look at the options and then evaluate the options and move on with the most suitable options that it can have. So, the various types of dilemmas or rather issues are, first issue is direct or indirect channels. So, the first dilemma is that whether the company should approach the consumers directly through its sales force, or the company should put up an indirect channel through various other intermediaries. So, this is the dilemma number 1, or rather the issue number 1. Then another dilemma or another issue comes up with single or multiple channels. So, whether the company should set up a particular channel, or whether the company should go for a multi-channel strategy or a hybrid channel strategy. So, this is another issue that is encountered by the organization, and it has to take decision regarding this. So, single or multiple channels. Now, in case of multiple channels, we can simply say that it always has a choice. Now, in 21st century, any company has to decide whether to keep itself offline or whether it should also go online. So, this is a very simple model of the dilemma that is encountered, and if it goes offline, then what are the various formats that it can look into? While if it goes online, it can use a website, or it can also use an app or a combination of website and app. So, these are the dilemmas which are encountered in this point as to whether there should be a single channel or whether the company should follow a multiple channel strategy. Then the next dilemma that is encountered is about the length of the channel. Here we can also say that this is about the level of the channel. So, the length of the channel is actually directly related to the number of intermediaries which are involved in the channel, and if the company is willing to keep the length short, then it might not involve any intermediary, and it might go for a direct marketing channel where it offers the product directly to the consumer. While if it talks about a level 1 channel, it can include a retailer in between producer and the consumer, while if it talks about a level 2 channel, the length can be further increased, and it can include a distributor and a retailer, or a wholesaler and a retailer between itself and the consumer. While in case it is willing to elongate the channel further, it can include 3 intermediaries such as wholesaler, the distributor, the wholesaler as well as the retailer. So, the channel length increases, and at the end, one end there is the producer, at the other end there is the consumer, and then there are 3 intermediaries in form of this distributor, wholesaler and retailer. So, a typical long channel consists of the manufacturer, then this is followed by a distributor, then this is followed by a wholesaler, this is followed by a retailer, and at the other end there is the consumer that is waiting for the product. So, this decision is about including which intermediary to include and which intermediary to exclude. Now, retailer cannot be excluded, or if it is excluded, then in that case the manufacturer itself becomes the retailer and reaches out to the consumer directly. Other types of intermediaries is a decision which is to be taken, what types of intermediaries are to be kept and which are to be deleted or which are to be eliminated, and the number of intermediaries at each level. So, if we talk about the level of distributor, then how many distributors exactly? If we talk about the wholesalers, then how many wholesalers exactly? And if we talk about the retailers, then how many retailers and how many wholesalers and how many distributors exactly the company has to go for. So, if we see it like this, then we can see a vertical system which comprises of the producer and the consumer, and in between there are intermediaries, while there is a horizontal system also wherein there are intermediaries at the each level. So, the company has to decide how many intermediaries should it involve at a particular given level. So, this is about channel management decisions, the basic issues. Then the various types of channel management decisions that the company has to make are, first of all, selection of channel members. So, this is a very important and a very crucial step, because the success of the channel depends on the type of the channel members and how the channel members will respond to the particular channel. So, selection of channel members is the starting point, and it is also a very crucial step, and this is followed by the training of channel members. So, if the particular distributor is there, then the distributor has to be taught about the product, it has to be given the product knowledge, it has to be given the knowledge of the types of consumers who are purchasing the product, so that the distributor can efficiently sell the product in the market, and it can also have an understanding about the kind of consumer and the kind of product it is selling. So, this type of knowledge and training about the market, about the consumer, about the product, etc., has to be given to the channel member by the organization. Now, after training the channel member, the next decision comes about motivating the channel member. So, once a channel member is trained, it is very important to motivate that channel member, because with the passage of time it is extremely important to keep the channel members motivated, because there is competition in the market, and if the channel members feel demotivated, then this will also impact the sale of the product in the market. So, in order to boost the sale up and in order to keep the sales going up, the channel members or the intermediaries have to be motivated, and then constantly they have to be evaluated, or I should say they have to be reviewed from time to time. So, the performance of the channel members have to be reviewed from time to time, and then those channel members who are not able to perform are then eliminated and new channel members are brought in, and those who are very well performing channel members are suitably rewarded. And depending on the performance or non-performance, there is modification in the channel members. So, modification actually means the exclusion or inclusion of new channel members. So, this is about that. So, the non-performing channel members are excluded while the performing ones are included. So, channel management decisions go on like this. Now, we come to channel integrated system. So, we have two types of integrated systems. We have a vertical marketing system as well as a horizontal marketing system. Now, if we talk about the vertical marketing system is defined as it comprises of the producer, distributor, wholesaler and the retailer as independent entities, with each trying to maximize their own profits. So, we can visualize the vertical marketing system as something like this. So, there is a manufacturer here, then we have a distributor, which is then followed by a wholesaler, which is then followed by a retailer, and down the line we have the consumer. So, this is the vertical marketing system, where there are so many entities such as the distributor, wholesaler and retailer, and all these entities, the encircled ones, all these encircled entities are trying to maximize their profits independently. So, they are basically behaving as independent organizations, which they actually are, and each of them is trying to maximize their profits. Now, when we come to horizontal marketing system, or in abbreviation we call it HMS, Now, two or more unrelated companies put together to exploit emerging marketing opportunity. So, it means that at a particular level there can be two or more entities. So, let us assume that there is a manufacturer which has given the task of distribution to two distributors D1 and D2 in a particular city or in a particular state. So, it means that at the level of distributor there are not one but two distributors who are there at the same level. So, these are two or more unrelated companies which are put together, and these are put together to exploit an emerging marketing opportunity which is offered by the manufacturer. Further, let us assume that this distributor D1 has got 3 wholesalers and the distributor D2 has got 2 wholesalers. So, we have got 3 wholesalers W1, W2 and W3, and here we have 2 wholesalers W4 and W5. So, it means at the level of wholesalers there are not one but 5 wholesalers which are operating here. So, the distributors have been 2 which are followed by 5 wholesalers, and each of the wholesalers would give their product to a different set of retailers. So, there would be, let us say, 15 or 20 retailers. So, at each level there are certain number of entities who are independent of each other, but they are trying to exploit a particular marketing opportunity. So, this is what is making the horizontal marketing system, while this model is making the vertical marketing system, wherein there are various levels and a certain category of intermediaries are occupying a particular level. So, this is what we mean by channel integrated system, which is divided into vertical marketing system and horizontal marketing system. Now, we move to meaning of channel conflict. So, channel conflict, now conflict is defined as dispute, conflict is defined as an unwanted situation in a particular sequence. So, there is an activity happening, and if that activity is accompanied by some unwanted situation or some dispute occurs between the members, then that is actually called conflict. So, in channel also there can be conflicts. So, let me define the channel conflict by saying that channel conflict can be explained as any dispute, difference or discord which is arising between two or more channel partners. So, there can be two distributors and those distributors can be in conflict with each other, or a distributor can be in conflict with the wholesaler, or there can be two or more retailers which can be in conflict, or a retailer can have a conflict with the wholesaler and the retailer can have a conflict with the wholesaler, or two wholesalers can also, or more wholesalers can also be in a conflict. So, conflict situation can arise throughout the channel anywhere between any number of channel partners at any level. It arises in cases where one partner's activities or operations affect the business, the sales, the profitability and market share or similar goal accomplishment of the other channel partners. So, only when there is a conflict of interest, only when there are losses because of certain other partners, only in those situations the conflicts come into play. Normally there are no conflicts, but conflicts can arise because of certain situations where the profitability or the market share or goal accomplishment or something similar of one partner is impacted by the activities and the decisions of the other partner. So, in that case the channel conflict can come into play. Now, there are two types of channel conflicts. There can be vertical channel conflicts as well as horizontal channel conflict. For this we will have to again go back to vertical marketing system and horizontal marketing system. So, vertical channel conflicts are basically taking place at different levels. So, if a conflict arises between a distributor and a wholesaler, or if a conflict arises between the wholesaler and the retailer, or if the conflict arises between the distributor and the wholesaler, then that will be called as a vertical marketing conflict, because it is arising between two levels, different levels in a distribution channel. While horizontal marketing conflict is the conflict that arises at the same level. So, here we have the manufacturer followed by two distributors. Now, these two distributors are at the same level, and if a conflict arises between these two distributors on profit sharing or discount offered, then this will be called as a horizontal marketing conflict, because this is arising at the same level. Similarly, we have got 5 wholesalers here. So, if any of the two wholesalers or more than two wholesalers are in a conflict with each other, then there will be called as a horizontal marketing conflict. So, vertical marketing conflict arises at different levels, while horizontal marketing conflict arises at the same level of the distribution channel. So, this is to be very much understood. Now, there can be certain causes of channel conflict. Now, what can be the causes of channel conflict? So, one of the prime cause of channel conflict is goal incompatibility. Suppose there is a channel partner P1 and there is a channel partner P2. The goal is something else, while for P2 the goal is something else. Now, this goal incompatibility can be a cause of conflict. So, here I would like to give the example of Flipkart. Now, Flipkart was earlier distributing its products through a third party distributor. The vision of Flipkart was that the product must reach the consumer within 2 days, while such was not the vision of the third party distributor. So, now here there were separate goals. The company had the goal of making the product available to the consumers within 2 days, while the physical distributor, the third party, the outsourced party was there, no such vision was there. So, because of the goal displacement, certain kind of conflict must have come into play, and then after this conflict, when this conflict was realized by Flipkart, Flipkart established its own distribution company called AKtU. So, because of the goal incompatibility, conflicts arise. Then there can be unclear roles. There can be a certain role ambiguity, I should say, or there can be confusions related to the goals. So, whenever a manufacturer hires a channel partner, that channel partner must be explained the goal, and therefore, the training is a must. So, the channel partner should be given goal related training, and the channel partner should be made the role extremely clear as to what is expected from that channel partner in the channel. So, if there are if the things are left unsaid, then this will contribute to the conflict. Then resistance to change. The technology is changing and the channel partners should also be adaptable to the technology. If they are resistant to change, then channel conflict will arise. And if there are too many partners serving too few customers, so if there are at the same level, if there are so many intermediaries and they are serving very few customers, then there would be a rush for customers and there would be a rush for discounts, and this rush for customers and rush for discounts would then it will contribute to a lot of channel conflict. And there can be strategic or marketing disalignment. So, such marketing misalignment or strategic misalignment can also be a cause of channel conflict. So, these things must be avoided in order to avoid any kind of channel conflict. Resolution of channel conflict. Now, resolution is also very important because channel conflict often gives rise to losses and it gives rise to tensions between the partners, which is not good for the distribution channel. So, there should be cooperation among the distribution channel. Cooperation will come with a lot of communication. So, communication channels must be open, the communication lines must be open. Mediation. So, any strong channel partner can come and it should act as an intermediary, it should act as a pacifier, and it should act as a resolution, it should provide a solution to the conflict between various partners. Then diplomacy. Diplomacy is about talks, it is about communication, and it is about creating a win-win situation. So, such win-win situation can be created in order to come out of the conflict. Then arbitration. Arbitration is very much similar to mediation, and co-option. Co-option is very much similar to cooperation. So, things can be, the resources can be shared, the resources can be used jointly, and co-option can be done. So, with the resolution of channel conflict, I come to the end of this lecture. My name is Ashish Avasthi and my email ID is ashishashish.awsthi@imsec.ac.in. For any queries, you can mail your questions to me and I will be more than happy to reply you back. Thank you so much.